Asher, and Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is Pipeman here on the Adventures Pipeman W4CY Radio, and I'm very excited about our next guest because, man, they have some killer-ass music, and I think it's rather funny as somebody that's from the LA 80s metal scene that my bands left LA to go to the Bay Area, and I had to hitchhike up to the Bay Area, that he actually went from the Bay Area to LA, so it's like we've gone full circle in all these decades.
You went the same path as Metallica then.
Yes,
they went from LA to the Bay.
Yes, Metallica and Slayer. Metallica first. I was at their first show ever. I was at Slayer's first show ever.
Wow.
And then what happened was, both Metallica and Slayer couldn't play with anybody in LA. So that's why they left the Bay Area. It got ridiculous. Like I saw Striper open for Slayer. That's how bad it was. That's who you could get as the opener for Slayer. So, basically once they deserted us, they converted us to thrash metalheads and then deserted us, we had to, hitchhike up to the Bay Area to go to the real shows.
Had to follow. Yeah. Well, I mean, then I'm sure you saw shows at / played at probably the Phoenix.
I don't even remember most of them because.
Oh yeah. Well, that's just the one.
All the places, that were there back then. You know what they say is if you were like in that scene in the 80s, especially the Sunset Strip scene, which we lived in, and you remember it, you weren't really there.
Yeah.
Like I remember things, but some specifics I don't remember. I remember LA specifics more than Bay Area specifics for sure.
Yeah.
But, what we didn't get to do, because we were talking about this cool shit, is introduce you, So
yeah, we should do that.
That might be a good idea so people know who I'm talking to. They might think you're like the new member of Metallica or something.
I'm more mysterious this way, though. If they don't,
I know, right? It is kind of funny to
mystery.
Let's let people. You know what's funny is I just interviewed a band at Incarceration Music Festival here in the States at Shawshank Prison.
Mm-hmm.
That the band's name was Of Virtue.
Yes.
So it was.
Are aware of them.
Yeah, it was so funny because I was like, when I saw this, I'm like, didn't I just interview them? And then I'm like, oh no, it wasn't them. It was Of Virtue. So this is Trey from In Virtue. And I think I like true. In Virtue better than Of Virtue.
Well, it seems like a very small preposition, but it says a lot and it changes the context quite a bit. Our name
That's what I'm saying.
Derived from Shakespeare.
Nice.
The rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance from The Tempest.
Very good. See, that's what I love about metal music is people don't realize that most metal music has so much history and educational value to it.
A lot of it does. A lot of it is just dumb, which is also good. Can be good. There's a lot of I don't necessarily want smart guy depth all of the time. Sometimes I want caveman dumb too.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, I think I try to put as much rich sort of depth into everything that I write as I can. But also I do appreciate just a real ignorant breakdown and just I listen to a lot of different kinds of stuff, and
as most of us, like
I enjoy a real good chuggy mosh with on one note.
Right. I'm glad you said that because I was talking about that in the last interview today that I come from the 80s gatekeeper scene, where you couldn't like one type of metal if you liked another type of metal. And I always thought it was stupid because if you like music, you like music. And just because you're a metalhead doesn't mean you only like metal. People kind of think that. And some people kind of still act that way, but it's stupid. There's so many different types of music that, like, if you're a music fan, I would think you would like a lot of them, not just one.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of thinking really blows my mind. It's people will apply tribalism to anything.
Right.
I think that's something that doesn't belong in music at all. Because tribalism is for normies. It's for normal-brained people who can't appreciate the kind of depth that we were just talking about.
I go beyond normies. Sometimes I say stupid people because they just have to follow something. They don't even understand what they're following.
Well, tribalism will lead people to it's just the easiest and lowest way to organize groups of people. For if you can't appreciate any kind of subtlety or think of people as individuals, it's really easy to think of them in these general groups. And if you've got a real smooth brain, it's the easiest form of taxonomy for you to and because the alternative is just too complicated. I listen to so many different kinds of music. I love top 40 pop. I studied jazz in college. I love classical music. I just did a series of videos on my YouTube channel it's called The Songs That Made Me, and I just go through all of the music that really influenced me the most. And I did a whole episode on 90s alternative rock, like Everclear and Weezer. I did an episode on early 2000s metalcore because I was really into like Unearth, Killswitch Engage, that kind of stuff. Power metal like Sonata Arctica, progressive metal like Dream Theater, and and it's not my religion or my personality to just stick to one thing. Metal is not a religion or a tribe for me. I just love the music, and
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because we were such gatekeepers back in the 80s. I always thought it was stupid. And somebody I'm friends with now that I've interviewed a few times now, the first time I interviewed her, I said to her, I'm like, I wasn't allowed to like you in the 80s because you were a new waver. And I'm like, but I'm just going to say it right now that I did like you. And now I can admit it in 2000, whatever it was, 24 or 23.
I think there's a certain type of tyrannical, controlling personality that initiates that sort of gatekeeping. And it's it's embarrassing to think about that you would let someone else dictate that sort of thing, but we've all been there, there was one person in every scene who was like, no, it's just this. But it's really just it's a narcissist.
Well, it's funny too because some of the music back then was so similar and you were still at odds. I always thought it was stupid because I was a long hair, so I couldn't go to punk shows even though I liked punk. And punks couldn't go to metal shows because they were punks. And I thought it was stupid because the jocks were bullying both of us. We should have band together against them instead of this separatist thing. It's division. It's the oldest trick in the book, divide and conquer.
Yeah. And it's usually people doing it to themselves more than
totally.
It's just sad.
So I have a trivia question for you.
Oh.
Based on the beginning of our conversation and based on your band. Okay. So you were labeled as, quote unquote, a progressive power metal band. I say it like that because I hate the frickin' labels. Like musicians should, and just the same as we were talking about the gatekeeping, musicians should just play whatever they want. You don't have to be stuck in some label. And my trivia question will show how ridiculous the labels are. So, what band in the 80s was called power metal because the actual type of metal they were didn't even exist yet?
What band was called power metal? I know Pantera.
They
had
even
an
called
album
themselves
called,
power metal
Pantera had an album called Power Metal.
earlier.
But
Earlier than that.
Earlier than that.
I'll give you one more hint.
If it's not Metallica, then I don't.
It's Metallica.
It is Metallica. Okay.
Yeah. So they were power metal for like a minute, only because there was no such thing as thrash metal. So they just lumped them into power metal, which to me made no sense because they didn't sound like, I like power metal, but they didn't have a power metal sound. So I don't know why they were power metal, but that shows how ridiculous the labels are because they had to lump them in somewhere.
Those kinds of genre tags and things like that exist for two types of people. Number one, for journalists, because you got to have something to write and some way of classifying this music. And number two, for like fans who are trying to find similar music. It's sort of like Pandora before Pandora existed, right? Like,
right.
You know, Pandora like finds music based on traits of something that you like, right? Breaks it down. These days, like, it's become a lot more restrictive because, you know, because of like this, like the tribalism we talked about, like those sorts of things, when in reality, how dumb is it that you would go, hey, I only like X style and therefore I make, it just becomes this like, instead of making art as musicians, we're making just a copy of a copy of a copy. And when you do that, what you wind up with is something far, far worse. It's sort of, do you ever see the movie Multiplicity?
No, that
Michael
one I
Keaton?
haven't seen.
So
I haven't seen that one.
He figures out how to clone himself. And he makes a few clones, but then his clones make a clone of themselves. And it's like really stupid and like messed up because, you know, you make a clone of like a copy of a copy. If you've ever made a Xerox and then
it's
a
like
Xerox
the
of a
tape
Xerox,
trading days.
Yeah, exactly. You get the degradation, which is can be a cool effect musically and artistically. But if what you're trying to do is just copy someone else and make a facsimile, you're not really making good art, probably, and there's no new music being made instead. And you know, in the same way that for example, genetically, when you the way you create like a robust dog type, okay, right? Like a purebred dog is a fucking medical disaster, right? Anybody who has a purebred dog will tell you how much they spend in vet bills and like they wind up with all these terrible problems. But a mutt will live forever. You know, you get a mutt that's like 10 different types of dog and they're unkillable because it's just because there's just this strength that happens from combining different aspects of things that are good.
I love that, and I'll tell you why. So, to your point, one of the things that bothers me today about music, and to add, there's one other very important company, not people, but types of companies that love the genre labels, and that's record labels, because they can't sell you if you don't have some genre label. You can't be like, I was managing an artist once that she basically was all different types of genres. And Sony was like, well, she's got to pick one.
Yep.
You know,
there's my favorite new artist is her name is Chinchilla from the UK. And in one of her songs, she's talking about this, and she literally uses the line, pick a genre, like that, she's been told by record execs, same thing, pick a genre. And like, when she sang that, I was like, fuck, like, yeah, that sucks. That sucks.
Right.
I understand to a degree the sort of business side
Well, there's
of it
two
where you have to
sides
do
of
that,
it,
but
right?
but
There's two.
it's rough. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people, like, for example, when you think of certain record labels, a lot of them have like a sound, and like, I don't know.
That's why it was
there's a
really
certain
funny
thing.
when Slayer was on Def Jam Records, because
Well,
that didn't make sense by
Right.
what you're saying. You know,
But so then you go like, okay, well, what's for the average consumer, for someone who's trying to who finds a kind of music that they like, and then they're like, holy shit, this is amazing. Where do I get more of this? Like, imagine hearing Slayer for the first time and having no context, right?
right?
You'd go like, what is this? What do I call this so that I can find more of them? And then you
True.
go like, okay, oh, thrash. Okay, you find a bunch of other thrash bands, and you'll probably be a pretty happy listener. But if you are Slayer and you want to do something else, you have like, you want to grow artistically, you might have some very sad listeners. But
I have a perfect example of that. Two perfect examples, actually. One is a recent one, Bring Me to Horizon.
mm-hmm.
You know, because people were giving them so much hate over the past few years of, making all this different type of music. And Ollie was like, why do I want to write the same song over and over again? And I agree with that.
They're a great example because they got a lot better.
Right?
Their
That's
old
what I'm
shit
saying.
Sucks. Their
That's
old
what
shit
I'm
is way heavier, way more metal, and it's not good.
It's more melodic now. It's more catchy. It has a lot more meaning to it. His lyrics have way more meaning now. But here's another perfect example. Metallica, when the Black Album came out, me and the 25 original fans were like, fuck them, posers, sellouts, blah, blah, blah. You're not thrash anymore, blah, 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 bullshit. But meanwhile, they're the biggest metal band in the world, and if it weren't for them, that we might not have a lot of the metal bands we have today. Now, the negative part that I find from this other negative part, because I agree with you wholeheartedly, I think an artist should not be boxed in. Like, as you get better at your craft, of course, you're going to experiment and explore, and try to see what you can accomplish. But the point is that nowadays, I find there's so many subgenres and microgenres of metal that within those stupid little genres, every band sounds exactly the same because they're using a formula. Like, if you do post metalcore, hardcore, it has to sound exactly like this, type of thing. And I find it so ridiculous how how these labels have become that when I go on tour and I do coverage at festivals all over the US, UK, Europe, and one of the fun things I do is I have the band tell me if they were going to make a genre that was just for their music, what would they call it? Because that's pretty much how ridiculous it is nowadays. It's so finite that it could be maybe just a couple bands that fit that genre.
I think there's realistically two types of artists. There's innovators and imitators. Okay.
Yes.
And I don't want to exist in a preset genre because I'm trying to create something new. It doesn't have a name yet, but I want to be making something that inspires so many other people to copy me that eventually they name a whole genre after us. Virtue metal. I don't know, something like that.
There you go.
Virtuecore. Like, it's everyone starts out as a copy of, imitation is how we learn.
Sure.
I copied Dream Theater, for years because it was just my favorite band.
Right.
I just wanted to be like that. Until I discovered what I was, and it takes a long time to get there. For a lot of people,
I
definitely
agree.
did for me. This is our third release, and I finally feel like we kind of came up with something that's cohesive. It feels like one thing, even though obviously as you listen, it's not just. It doesn't feel like all one big song that's the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of different influences and different sounds and sort of smaller like styles. But I think we came up with something that's very unique.
Key word
but
right
doesn't
there.
but doesn't it doesn't feel like we're just trying to make something new.
And it shouldn't. It should just be you being an artist. And that's what I like about what you said earlier. I find the best artists nowadays are the bands, especially, that everybody in the band has different influences because that's how you create something unique. And so, like you mentioned, jazz and classical, and like, first of all, a lot of people don't realize that metal is a derivative of classical, so it makes sense. And then look at somebody like Mustaine. His guitar playing is jazz fused with metal.
It's it's a lack of to me a lack of understanding of how music works and like not really knowing that we're all using the same basic building blocks.
Right.
And there's actually a lot fewer possibilities and options than you actually think that there are. Like we're basically working with 12 notes, right? We're all like in Western music, more or less, we are all working with the same 12 notes. The relationships between those notes is finite between any two notes, between any three notes, four notes, etc. And then rhythmically, there, like it's a smaller palette than we think it is, but there's also still so many possible combinations of all of these things. And when you have like some sort of genre leaders, right? Like melodic death metal, okay, I immediately think In Flames, and they put out these like 4, 5, whatever albums in their like early output that really defined what that was going to be. And now we have all of these people who loved that and just tried to sort of recreate it and they didn't learn about the building blocks of music. Instead, they just learned how this music was made, and that's their whole vocabulary.
Great point.
And so they sort of limited themselves to their own box, and it doesn't necessarily mean that what they make is bad or anything. Like tons of awesome music came out of it, but I didn't want to be limited to that at all, which is why I studied music, the foundational ideas of all of it from a sort of objective analytical way. And it's not that that's the way for everyone, but I feel like I just have so much more freedom and ability, a larger palette to express myself with.
Well, the thing is, too, is one thing's true about music. It evolves, okay? And that's why music now is different than it was in the 2010s, the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the 50s. And I love how you put that foundation, because I look at like even a band like the Beatles as a foundation for music today, even metal music today. To me, Helter Skelter is a foundational song to metal music, in my opinion. Or but you take like as an example, going back to what we were talking about before of, the original, like, okay, Venom was the original black metal band. And if you listen to black metal now, they would never consider Venom black metal now. And that's not because they weren't black metal. It's because black metal evolved. You know, death metal evolved. They all have evolved. And I think that's what creates unique music too. I mean, you even think about, we were talking about thrash metal. None of the big four of thrash sound the same. You wouldn't think they were in the same genre because they don't sound the same, because they evolved from what they were into thrash metal. Same thing.
Yeah, and how do you evolve? How do you grow as a musician? People don't talk about it a lot because, well, especially in heavy music, people, fans get really pissed when you change. They get bored if you don't, but they get pissed if you do. But what actually instantiates that growth or instigates it, I guess, is exposure to new ideas that you think that you gravitate towards, right? Like I view taste in music and taste in food as being kind of similar because there's not a lot of objective, rational ways that you can figure out why it is that why you like a certain piece of music or kind of food, right? Like, I put a piece of food in my mouth and my brain either goes good, accepts it, or goes nope and rejects it, like spit it out.
Right.
That's it. Like, there's probably a whole deep reasoning behind why I can't eat fish without, like I just hate seafood of all kind, and why I love cake, right? Like cheap fucking yellow cake, like who makes like Duncan Hines yellow cake with the chocolate frosting in the jar that you get right next to the mix, right? That's my favorite cake on earth, and I could eat that every day until I died. But I don't know why, and it's the same with music. You either like it either resonates with you or it doesn't, and there's probably some really deep reasons, but I honestly think we will never find out why. I don't think we'll ever really understand what it is about these vibrations in the air and the combinations thereof that stimulate our brain and make us go crazy.
Right.
Right? Like a mosh pit is an insane thing. I took my girlfriend to a deathcore show this week, and like the singer for one of the bands spit fucking beer into the air, and people were just like killing each other in the mosh pit, and she was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, honestly, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Why does it make us do that? But like, why do these just vibrations in the air?
I think you're totally right. But I also think if you understand why a band is playing the music they do, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Just the other night, I was out with my brother at this venue that had some live music. We were at two separate venues like that were right near each other. The first venue had this cover party band, like they're the kind that gets everybody all having fun, Nobody's taking it too seriously, except my brother. And he goes to me, do you like this band? I'm like, yeah, they're all right. Now, did I think they were the best musicians? Not necessarily, So then we go over to the next place, and this band was tight. Okay, like if you were going to analyze them from musicianship and just how they were really good. And they were like a jam band. They were doing stuff like Floyd and things like that, and just jamming shit. And he really loved them. But he loved them because of one reason, because he thought they were very good musicians. I saw something different. I liked both bands, but they were different vibes. The first band, maybe they weren't great musicians, but they were just allowing everybody to have a great time and have fun. And they were just a fun cover typical band that you would see at a bar or whatever. Whereas the other band, they took themselves very seriously. The first band didn't take themselves seriously. The second one took themselves very seriously of their musicianship, and it showed. They were really good. I don't think that I didn't dislike either one of them. They were just different vibes.
Yeah, totally. There's also different functions, you know,
Yeah,
different purposes
exactly.
in making music. For example, like, it took me a while to figure out that people really make music for very different reasons a lot of the time. They, you know, I run a whole YouTube channel that's sort of aimed at helping people make music better, right? In various different ways, a lot of songwriting stuff and all that. But like, what I realize is that like I say everything as if everyone is trying to be a very creative musician, to write music and release it and all that. And I've realized that there's so many people that just really want to play an instrument for fun. And then also there are a lot of people who just love to play, even at a very high level, but they're not like particularly interested in the creative part of it. They just love actually playing it. So, you know, the kind of people that will like join a band where all of their parts are like written for them, or maybe they just have to, you know, they just basically want to perform. And I think it's this, you know, it takes all types, because if everyone was like me, concerned primarily with the creative process of writing and composing and all this stuff, we'd have nobody to play the music that we write, you know, like, or it would just be too many cooks. And, you know, like, as I was writing this album, like, I can't play all of the instruments, you know, like I need a drummer, I need, like, you know, and like I can like program a lot of things, but like that, you know, like I'm not going to go up there with all backing tracks and play like, so anyway, but it's very important that we have all of these different ways of creating music and reasons for creating. And, you know, music has such has so many different functions in our society. And like, you know, like a cover band is like a great, super fun night of hanging out at a bar with your friends and like dancing with, you know, with people. And like, that's obvious. There's not like
there's no expectation.
Yeah, that's not really, they're not like super duper making art, which is whatever. It's more like entertainment. You know, and then taking yourself super seriously for I don't know, like just a more, just for something that's a little deeper, like this other band you described, maybe like something a little bit feeling more, I don't know, just a little bit more like important, I guess, or deep, or whatever. And you know, different types of people are going to gravitate to different versions of it. And for me, when I create music, the reason that I even put it out into the world is to find what I call like souls, okay? To create connections between myself and other people that exist. Because if I make something and somebody picks up what I'm putting down, like if they understand what I'm trying to say in the song and they relate, that makes me feel like I'm not alone in the universe. Yeah. You know? And like you know, I've also played like Gnarls Barkley Crazy in a cover band. Like, and that's fucking fun. Like, it's not it's obviously not the same, but I did get a great reaction and it was fun. And like, it's, you know, two different sides of the coin. For me, the creative, the generating new things that didn't exist before is the thing that excites me the most. Building it, the process of writing and composing. Like, you know, I do all of this orchestration, like like a lot of these songs, especially our new one, Desolation Throne, has like all these layers of orchestration. That's not super upfront, but like I love going in and like tweaking the second flute part to make sure that the articulation is correct, and like, you know, all these little things that are like not as fun as like banging out a 4-chord pop song in front of a bunch of drunk milfs at a bar.
Well, you know, it's funny because I just binge watched Nashville on Netflix, and to your point, there was one of the characters who was a songwriter but not a very good performer, and then there was another artist who was an amazing performer, not much of a songwriter, you know, and the one that was the performer realized, okay, listen, I'm a performer. That's who I am. And he tried to teach the other one how to become more of a performer, because to the performer, he was like, you know, you have to feel the music, you have to create the emotion so the people that are listening and watching will feel it too, you know, not just the words. Whereas the songwriter dude took it very seriously, like, and so you could tell on stage he was very serious mode on stage. And what was cool about them performing together is I think you need both parts.
Yeah, because you have to actuate the composition, right? You could write an absolute masterpiece, literally write it as notes and words and like compose the whole thing, every part. And if no one ever performs it, then what you have created is not music. It's just ink, right?
Yeah.
But you can't perform no composition.
Right. What are you going to perform?
So like, you know, it's those are the kind of the two important halves of it. You're always, I call it like selling the composition. It's not selling, but you know, like you gotta sell it as a performer. And I think that, like, I mean, I might be biased because, like I said, I'm much more on the composition side. But I think that if you write something that's like truly great in the composition, then the performance becomes somewhat less important.
Yeah.
For example, like if you write just a fucking white hot banger, somebody who's trashed singing it at karaoke isn't gonna ruin it. You know, people will still be like, fuck yeah, brother, fucking don't stop believing, whatever, like still have a great time. But if you have a song that's kind of whatever, you can kind of get away with, if you have a really amazing singer and performers, if you really sell the performance and the production and the whole works, people can enjoy it. But when you break it down to it, like to a shitty karaoke performance, or like the campfire, you know, around the campfire, strum a couple chords and sing it along, if it doesn't hold up there, then it's not a great song. It's just it's just a polished turd. But if you can have both, you're unstoppable, right?
There
like,
you go.
Write a great song, perform the shit out of it. If like, for me, I'm writing things that I believe in so strongly. I'm writing songs about things that I care about, that are, like, it's basically autobiographical in a roundabout way. Like I believe that they're really great. And so when I go to perform them, which hopefully I'll get to do soon, I haven't done that in a while, it will be easy for me to sell it because I believe in the whole package. And I'm not just like, what is it? Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby. Like I don't know. I think of people like who sing for commercial jingles like with such sauce. Like what's get in the zone, auto zone. Like that guy felt like he was really feeling AutoZone. Like
Right,
I mean,
right.
I guess if you're paying me enough, I could fake it pretty good. But like,
See, that's what I would
it'd be
be
hard.
good
It'd
at.
be hard.
That's what I would be good at. But now the songwriting process, I wrote one song, okay, that actually was recorded, and it was a collaboration with my head engineer at the radio station and his duo partner, because they were a country rock duo.
Hmm.
And I came to him with this song. Now, I'm a radio personality. I'm a speaker. I'm a published author.
Hmm.
So what I wrote was not a song. It was a book. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Like I wrote it in book style. Okay. And I hand this to him and he's like, what the fuck is this? And he's like, this is a book, man. And he goes, we need to trim this down. And then he starts going, is this important? And everything, as you know, like it's so hard to cut up your own shit. So I was like, yes, that's important. Like he's trying to cut stuff out of it to make it into a song. And I'm like, no, that has to be in there. But anyway, the final product was, a minuscule fraction of what I gave him, but it was a song.
Yeah.
And it was a great song. Oh, good. I didn't have to fix the blinds. I was going to say before, I was going to let you say something while I fix the blind because I didn't realize that I had the blind open with the sun coming in.
I saw it on you.
I know. And did you notice I was trying to move away from it? And I didn't want to get out of the screen, but now the cloud is hiding it. So I don't have to close the blind now, which I should have done beforehand, but I never had that problem. So I was like, fuck, in the middle of the interview.
I'm
like,
going to tell you that I wish I didn't notice that. But as you can see, one of my many hobbies is lighting.
Well,
because I got to do video, I care about lighting. And I saw the beams of light across you. I wasn't judging you for it, but I noticed.
Oh, yeah. I knew you noticed. I was trying to figure out a way. How could I get out of this scenario without actually jumping out of the screen to, and it's funny. So now I feel much better because I am a perfectionist too. I'm like, fuck me, this sun, but yeah, I mean, so what ended up happening is there's a difference between writing something and writing a song and understanding how composition is. And he understood that. I didn't understand it. I mean, I did understand it, but not to a point that I was willing to eliminate anything that I wrote,
It's a lot of, I think of composition as being pretty universal across different mediums in a lot of ways, like storytelling, good storytelling, good, solid composition. There's
there's
many
a point
things that are very, very similar and universal, but every medium has its own little quirks and limitations and everything. Like you can't put all of Lord of the Rings
right
into one song.
That's
right?
the point. There's different types of storytelling. There's a storytelling that you do in Desolation Throne, that makes it a song. Then there's storytelling me as a speaker when, storytelling as a public speaker, you drag it out. Storytelling as a radio personality, you drag it out. Like I can take a 2-minute story and turn it into a 40-minute story and it'd be really engaging. But if it was a 40-minute song, it wouldn't be engaging at all.
Yeah, but you can have a 40-minute album
yes,
with chapters.
Yes.
And it's, but it comes down to how big of a story do you want to tell and what is the actual point? I used to take a much more kitchen sink approach. Probably because the format of progressive music always really appealed to me. they did a lot of different things within the same composition. But what I figured out was that it was always, when they were doing it really well, it was always a lot of variations on the same motif, the same musical ideas, and there was always this main quest throughout it. They took a lot more side quests than the average, like, pop music or whatever, but there was always this main quest that they were always getting back to. And after doing like a lot of things, a lot of different types of things, approaching things many, many different ways, and really taking the long way around, I came to the conclusion that, like, life is very short, and you really only get to say, like, you might only be remembered for saying one really important thing, having one core idea. And you, even if you're have a lot of, like, what I would call musical filigree, right? A lot of a lot of sort of decoration or a lot of side quests or whatever. If your music is very complex, it's still all there to serve some kind of very specific core idea. And, like, the journey of Sisyphus in this story is that thread, and it's all about basically these two characters, but the growth and character development of this really terrible person. Starts out as a truly awful tyrant, and his journey of self-forgiveness. And this idea of self-forgiveness is the core idea, and Sisyphus is there to sort of demonstrate that idea. And, like, it's a 50-minute album with how many? 14, 15 songs on it. And each song is just another step in that journey. And if you listen to the whole thing and you don't get that out of it, it's totally fine, because each of the individual songs, I think, stands on their own. But I tried my absolute hardest to really distill that idea and to always be pointing towards that. And it's not Lord of the Rings. It's like, I'm not going into detail about the taste of the ale it is 111th, what is it, 111st birthday, like, and the color of every leaf on every tree of the whole journey. Those are cool details if you're writing a book, but yeah, in a song,
exactly.
Like, you got to really get to the point, unlike what I just did with that very long sentence.
And it's even more so nowadays, because, like, it's kind of ridiculous to me. I took, songwriting classes in college, and songwriting then compared to songwriting now is totally different in certain respects because of the attention span of people nowadays. And, like, I've talked to some songwriters and they're like, yeah, nowadays we have to cut out an intro, cut out a verse, cut out a bridge, cut out a solo, or else people won't listen, and it's really sad, because I love how you use the word journey, because that's the word I always use. Like, every album I ever had, it was like a journey. You put your headphones on, you listen to the whole album cover to cover. Here comes the sunlight again. and then basically you would read the lyrics, look at the artwork, which, by the way, this is a perfect chance for me to fix that. Look at this artwork right here, is badass. Maybe you could tell them about this album and the person that did the artwork.
I will talk about that while they look at it, and you fix the blinds. So Niklas Sundin is the artist, Swedish dude. You will probably know him best as founding longtime guitarist for the band Dark Tranquillity, a band that I love dearly. He's no longer in the band as of I think 2023, but he created many of their album covers. I'm not sure if it's all of them, but the one that he did that really hit me like a ton of bricks
Look
was
at that.
great job. Was for their album. Oh no, now I've drawn a blank on what the hell it was called. I think it was not the most recent one, but the one before it. I should look it up in the moment. But I'm gonna. And anyway, it was like it just hit me so hard, and I was like, if it hadn't already been, it's called Moment. If it hadn't already been a cover, I would have straight up bought it off of him for this. But what that gave me was the opportunity to commission him to make something unique and something that was really exactly what it needed. And so, I don't know if you know that you can just do this. People are like, well, how do you get someone to do it? Like, you find somebody who's done the thing that's your favorite, and then you just pay them to make something for you. Like, now obviously, like,
they have to understand you too.
But you gotta, yeah. They gotta pick up what you're putting down. Luckily, he was extremely easy to work with, really great. He just obviously delivered the goods. Now in this case, like, it was straight up like a commission. Like, I gave him the pretty specific idea of what I wanted, but I'm not this kind of artist. I don't do like visual art like this at all. So I have a very broad general idea of what I want, and getting a real artist to interpret what I'm saying and deliver it with all of this stuff that there's no way in a million years I could have possibly thought of, The picture of like the actual backside of this dude, I sent him a photograph of myself in this pose, and it's basically exactly that, but art,
Right.
But the rest of it is just things that I like kind of described to him as if it was a dream. And he just made this beautiful thing with the colors that pop in such a great way with the contrast. Like
the colors are totally cool. Like,
yeah, wildly good. And so what it depicts is Sisyphus on the mountain. The boulder is rolling back down because he's abandoned it. He is tearing apart the fabric of reality so that he can break out of his, supposedly eternal torment of pushing this boulder up the hill. You can see the vines and shackles trying to hold him back, the snakes coming after him. And then we see the world, Earth, America, New York City, actually. That was just to like really show that he's, coming to some modern version of the world, and that we, like, in our last single that we released before this one is Gunslingers of the New American Desert. So like he is in the United States. But all of this stuff is things that I, had these conversations with him about what the album was about, what I was really trying to depict. And like, it's maybe like a little on the nose in a sense. But I think I just really wanted to tell enough of the story in one static frame that people would be intrigued. And I think also, like we said, composition, it's different across all mediums, but you still want storytelling, and this single frame tells such a story if you know what to look for.
No doubt.
And I don't yet have it as a large scale piece of art to hang on my wall, but I'm getting there.
Well, and to your
Gotta do that.
point, it is so crucial too to find an artist that can understand what you're explaining. Because like I had the same scenario. I have a published book. I had the idea of what I wanted the cover to look like. I gave it to the artist, and I was absolutely in shock in what I got back because I don't even think I gave too much specifics. I did what you did, like gave my vision, but my vision could be a different language to whatever
Yeah.
that person was hearing, and came back, and I there wasn't even an edit. I was like, that's
Oh, wow.
exactly
No
what I was
notes.
thinking.
You
I'm
love
like,
it.
that's
You love to see it.
exactly what I was thinking. That was perfect, and that became the album and the book cover.
Yeah.
You know, so yes, like you need to. I think it's true in all art too. You need the people that specialize in the different areas. You know, like obviously lighting's not my specialty, but here, okay, you ready for this too? What I noticed, your lighting and your background matches your album cover.
Oh, that's true.
Did
I've
you
not
notice that?
I did not.
Yeah, as right while you were talking, I was looking. I'm like, I'm looking at the different colors, and I'm like, they all match in the album cover.
It's it's a lot of like color theory, contrasting, and stuff like that I've sort of like been forced to learn about so that I can make my videos and streams look better. But like, yeah, so the album cover is something that, of course, we outsourced. Nobody in the band paints, draws, like whatever, right? But I think that sort of potential disconnect between yourself and the person that you're commissioning any given piece of art or thing or whatever, a crafts person, has led me to learn how to do so many things, because a lot of the time I've asked for something and gotten just not the right, not something usable or whatever, or just something that doesn't match. Like that's part of why I started learning how to sing, because I didn't want to have to describe to someone else what I wanted.
Right.
I literally just I was like, no, now I'm just going to sing the songs that I write so that I can sing them how I think they need to be sung. It's not about this. That's not even about whether or not somebody else was going to sing them well.
It's about
I had to get it right.
And you understand the meaning behind the words. And if it's not your own words, sometimes it's not as easy to express those words the way the writer means them.
Yeah, there's definitely that too. And that's just, that kind of goes for every instrument, but the voice is the one that everyone will like pick up on those little subtleties and stuff, right? Like if most people aren't going to be like, oh, the guitar is a little flat on this note here. Like, I wasn't really feeling that particular expression of it. But they'll be able to detect honesty in a sung vocal performance or not. Like, that you can tell if you mean it, or even some kind of real specific expression of feeling that you're trying to get across. They'll get those things. So it's it's just the tip of the iceberg kind of, but it's the part that the largest number of people will be understanding or not. Like we have a song on our old album Embrace the Horror. There's a part where like I say gasping out its final breath in this one spot. because I did harsh vocals on the last two. And in that part, I like sound like I'm running out of breath. And a friend of mine who's not really a musician was like that feels so real. And
there
like
you go.
he's like, oh fuck. And it's
That's
little
key.
things like that.
That's key right there. And I think too, like, so I have a question for you. Would you say, because I think everybody is, I think the whole narrative of self-forgiveness, transformation, and rebirth applies to everybody in their life and everybody that, is breathing, basically.
Yeah.
So do you feel like when you're singing these songs, you're singing about you?
100%. I mean, I wrote,
and that's key.
It is in a kind of roundabout way, very autobiographical. And also it became kind of like life imitating art. Like I started writing when I really figured out what the story was about. It was because I felt like I was so bogged down in my own, like I had created so much obligation for myself to that I couldn't move forward. Like I was so frustrated at myself for not achieving certain things that I couldn't even set new goals and move forward at all in my life. And I had this expectation of myself that was so unrealistic, and I really was not being kind to myself, not being forgiving because of all the mistakes and that I'd made and dumb things. And it's really the sunk cost fallacy in a lot of ways. Now, I am not a tyrannical king who's killed thousands of people and like oppressed, like obviously in that sense, I am not like Sisyphus. But also that example exists just to be like, in a sense, to sort of polarize it for you, because you go like, well, are you a tyrannical king who's killed and oppressed thousands of people and tortured people? Like, well, maybe you should be a little nicer to yourself. like it's, you made a mistake, you did something wrong or bad. You don't have to go fucking Walter White, right? Like you, so for me, it was working through this philosophical and ethical idea that I think a lot of people don't consciously or address, which is like this idea of like, am I a good person? Am I a bad person? And that dichotomy fucks people up. And I think that's a terrible way to look at everything, because people go like, okay, well, I did some things that are bad or wrong. I guess I'm a bad person. And then they just go Walter White, right? Like you're just like, all right, well, I guess that's who I am. But that's not a real thing. There's no one's good or bad. You just are constantly faced with choices, and you can either there's not a lot of very hard objective good and bad in most of the choices that we make on a daily basis, and if you make a bad choice, you do something wrong, it might really cause people pain or extreme joy or whatever. But if you do something wrong or bad, like the only thing that you can do is forgive yourself and move on. And because otherwise the choice that usually winds up getting made is that you continue to make these bad choices.
No doubt.
And like you might think, well, what about justice? What about like, should you feel bad about things that you did badly? Well, yeah, of course you should. But that guilt can have the opposite effect. It can backfire so hard, and it often does. And people like these tyrannical Sisyphus type characters, I think, wind up there because of a really bad philosophical idea.
No doubt. And there's something that a quote of yours that I saw that I really loved because it says it all, and it's something I say all the time as a motivational type, self-help type person. And you said it's about releasing ourselves from guilt and regret, because until you do, you can't do any good in the world for yourself or anyone else. And that is such an important statement.
Thank you. I like being quoted as when I say pithy things. Uh, and, that's not like the kind of thing you expect to get out of a metal album.
I know, right? But I have to tell you,
a lot of people want metal to be like an escape, and there are a lot of times that I do too. This one's a lot more like therapy.
I think all music is therapy. Number one. Number two, listen. I've had people say to me before, "How can you be a metalhead when you're a motivational speaker? That makes no sense." And I call bullshit. It makes all the sense in the world. I actually, driving to a seminar that I'm going to give, I will listen to like stuff like Slayer to get me all motivated and pumped up. Now somebody that says that to me, they're going to be like, if I tell them that, they're like, well, that doesn't make any sense at all. But it does make sense, because going back to the beginning of the interview, everything full circle is, it's a vibe, it's a feeling, it's energy. It's not necessarily about the words. It is about the meaning you put to those words. It's not about necessarily the music. It's the meaning you put to that music.
I think people who think like that, who would criticize you for something like that, just really don't catch the vibe of what metal is about. And I mean, honestly, like, those are the kinds of things that make me not really identify with metal culture. I always tell people like that I'm proudly a poser. Like, if that's like, I handed in my metal card long ago. I still mostly listen to metal, but it's stuff like that I just don't identify with metal culture or like metal tribalist thinking, because you just wind up with people saying dumb shit like that.
And it's real limited thinking, okay? Like, you got to look at the big picture. Like even for me, it's funny, you were mentioning the mosh pit before, and I go into the mosh pit. To me, the mosh pit's very motivational and very positive. And the reason I feel it is because that's where I get my shit out, so I don't beat the piss out of somebody in real life, okay? Just calling it what it is, Like, and you're not in there to hurt and maim people. It's idiots that don't understand moshing that do that. It's about a community, a family, helping each other, picking each other up, and getting out. Like, we all have darkness within us, no matter how positive we are. We all have negative things going on, and we need some kind of release. For me, the mosh pit is a perfect release, because I just get all my adrenaline pumped up and feeling good and get stuff out. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just simply getting out my darkness or pain.
Yeah, like I said, I brought my girlfriend to a deathcore show this past week, and she was like, I like the music, but I didn't like that people were pushing each other. Like, I wouldn't like that. And I was like, I can understand how from the outside that probably looks like they're not having a good time or something, or like but metal causes you, there's this physical sensation that gets you amped up, and you get this energy, and like this very specific kind of aggressive energy. And the mosh pit, when it's done right, when it's like a good mosh pit and not like something where somebody's going to get sent to the hospital, you're getting that feeling out. You're actuating that feeling you're doing something that it's sort of driving you to do without actually hurting anybody.
Exactly.
In
And
theory.
I'll go a step further. So I was doing coverage at Hellfest this summer, and the person that was my media helper, she had never really seen me in a pit. Okay. And so Exodus was playing. And so not only was I in the pit, but I started the pit, and I was in the pit for their whole set.
Damn.
And after I came out, she was like, I have never seen you smile so much. And I'm somebody that does smile. So it's not like I don't smile, but
Yeah.
she's like, oh my God, you were just grin ear to ear the whole time. And I think that's what people don't get is that's what the pit does for you. It doesn't make you an angry person, a depressive person. And the adrenaline that you get from it is like such a euphoric feeling. Forget taking drugs, just go in a pit.
Yeah, I mean, basically all music gives you some kind of a physical sensation, like dance
Yeah.
music, like EDM, or makes you want to dance a certain way, like reggaeton makes you want to shake your ass. Like, it doesn't seem weird to me that metal makes you want to do this other thing that's also a kind of dance.
Well,
And
we did call it slam dancing before
yeah,
there was ever such thing as moshing.
yeah, exactly. So it's all just this physical expression of this music, and it doesn't really make any logical sense. But I don't
I
know,
think
like,
people don't get things unless they experience it. And perfect example for me is I was covering this festival here in Florida called Okeechobee Fest one year, and they had Skrillex and Bass Nectar, and I was one of those people like, I don't get why people go to a concert for a DJ. Like, just go to the nightclub. And I didn't get it. I really didn't get it until I was there.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh my God, now I get it. Like it doesn't even have to be my jam, but it was just so cool, and the energy was so cool, and it was a lot of fun,
yeah,
and but you have to experience it to get it, I think.
yeah,
That's what it comes down to.
yeah. I didn't really, like Sabaton until I saw them live, and then I was like, oh yeah, this is fucking sick.
Well, it's funny is the band for me that I didn't like, maybe unpopular opinion, was Godsmack.
Hmm.
Until I saw them live, and then I loved them. They had such a great live show. And live shows are the different. There's artists that I really like their music and don't really like their live show. There's the opposite too. Like
Yeah.
again, going back to what we were talking about, and so it goes both ways. And yeah, Sabaton does put on a really good show. I almost got smashed in an interview by their stage one time.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I was interviewing them back behind the stage after they got off, and it was the end of the festival, and they were taking the stage down, and literally the back part of the stage fell right where I was sitting. Like he pointed it to me, and I got out of the way, and this thing came slamming down.
It's terrifying.
It was right. It's like in the interview. It was in the middle of the interview. But yeah, I mean, but the point is that, yeah, like you do definitely have to experience things before you pass judgment on them, because you just never know. I talked about Bring Me the Horizon. I didn't know who they were back in the deathcore days. I recently discovered them, like before a couple years before COVID, because I was at a festival and they were doing a live show, and I was like, oh my God. And they're like my top 5 favorite band now. And it was because of that live show right there. And then you talk about composition, like Ali is one of my favorite songwriters ever. Like it just, his lyrics kind of speak to me, and that's what it's about too. It's, whether the lyrics speak to you or not, and you put your own meaning to it. Like, I think a great lyricist, and a lot of them will say this, is yes, I'm writing it for me and it's about my feelings, but I also am very good with the fact that anybody else can put their own meaning to it. It doesn't have to be the same meaning I have.
Yeah, I teach a lyric writing course. It's I mean, it's like a videos you can get. It's called How to Actually Write Lyrics, and there's a concept that I talk about in there called the universal personal. And to me, if you're writing something that's very personal, most people go through a lot of the same basic things during their life. Like, we're not all super different. So if you're writing something that's really super personal, that's actually more universal than you trying to find something that's very universal, because you're a person and the people that you're talking to are also people, and like the specific details of their life are going to be very different, but we all like go through a lot of very, very similar things. So obviously a Sabaton song about a specific battle during World War II, like no, I wasn't there, I didn't storm the beach at Normandy or whatever. So that's like a bit different, but like there's a lot of things that you write about yourself that other people are going to be able to relate to, and that's no matter what you write, people are going to view it through the lens of their own life and experiences anyways.
Yeah.
So even if they're not getting exactly the thing that you're saying, actually, even if they did understand exactly what you're saying, they're going to apply it to themselves in a certain way.
Absolutely. And that's good music. I remember when I was taking that one of those music classes in college, that they talked about what it takes to write a hit song. And they used one specific song, an example that at that time was considered the perfect example of a perfect hit song. And basically what the professor said was, and this goes into motivational stuff I talk about in motivational stuff. There's three types of people. There's auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And if you can appeal to all three types in the song, then it's a hit song. Yeah. And the song that he used as the example was Stairway to Heaven.
Interesting.
Because if you take the three parts of Stairway to Heaven, one of the parts is for visual people, one is for auditory, and one is for kinesthetic. Okay. So now go listen to that song again, and you'll see
from that perspective. Yeah,
you have because there's distinctive three parts to the song.
Yeah,
and they do fit those three different personalities like perfectly, which is why it became so big. Is because everybody could relate to it.
Yeah, that's a cool perspective on it. I never thought of it like that.
Right? That was like, wow. When I heard that, I was like, that makes so much sense. And now every time I listen to that song, that's all I hear is like, I hear the progression of the auditory and the visual and the kinesthetic. And it's kind of amazing because it is true. Like every single person on the face of the earth would feel some type of energy from that song.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just like Desolation Throne.
Just like our song, Desolation Throne by Invirtue.
So let's tell everybody.
It's out now.
Right? And you rank as one of the, I think, top 3 or 4 longest interviews I've done. So that says a lot.
Oh, wow.
That's a good thing. I even started feeling bad, like, I wonder if he has to go somewhere else. But, and there's been no dead air.
I've got, dinner with the Queen. Got to jump on my private jet to, I don't fucking know.
Right. So let's tell everybody, okay, Age of Legends is set to release November 21st. And so tell everybody how they can get the album, how they can check out the singles, check out all your stuff. And even, even your website, which we didn't even get a chance to talk about, that might take another hour. You know, your gear,
website.
yours.
Gear. Oh no, that's a whole.
That's what I was saying. That's a whole nother interview. But give all your info and contact stuff.
I think the best way to get the Real in Virtue experience is to go to our YouTube channel and watch our music videos. And underneath those music videos in the description, you can find links to where to pre-save on your favorite streaming service and all of that, and to get all the information. But to me, the music video will give you the full picture. If you've never heard us before, you don't know what we're all about, you'll get the full, we have how many now? Five total music videos, I think. 6, actually, one for a cover, that are there on the channel. So it's like youtube.com/@invirtue, I think, but whatever. Just search, just use the search bar.
That sounds right, because that's why I screwed up with something today with my own. It was like, I forgot to put the @ sign.
Yeah, people know how to search. We're the only band called In Virtue, as far as I know. There's another band, as you pointed out, called Of Virtue.
Yeah, make sure you use the right preposition, okay?
They're also quite good. So if you fuck it up, you'll still be hearing good music. It just won't be us.
Right.
But yeah, our new music video, Desolation Throne, is out. We released one last month called Gunslingers of the New American Desert. And on the day that we release, I don't know, is this a secret? I don't even know. We have another video coming out that will drop on the day of the album release. I don't know, maybe there might be a publicist watching this right now going like, what are you doing? Don't tell them that.
I know, right?
But it's fine. Like, I'm sure they probably could have predicted that. Anyway, we've got another one coming. And those are all just a small view into this entire album. It's 15 I don't remember how many tracks. It's somewhere between 13 and 16 tracks, 50 minutes of music, and it's a complete journey, a tale of what I think of as being very heart-wrenching character development. It's actually a little difficult for me to listen to the whole thing because I get very emotional about it.
Nice.
But if you want a really deep story, you dive into the whole thing, start to finish, read the lyrics. Age of Legends, out November 21st.
Nice. And I it's funny because every time I hear that album name, I can't even help it, but I just think of Marvel.
Oh, yeah. It's a reference, kind of in a roundabout way, to the Wheel of Time series, the books, Robert Jordan. But
you just proved something else too that I know to be true. But a lot of these people out there that think metalheads are not intellectuals. First of all, this interview proves that. But the fact that so many metal songs, albums are based on books.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Iron Maiden.
Exactly. You took that out of my head.
Bro just goes through his library. He's like, hey, time to write a new album? Just like, what are the books that I've read over the last...
Right?
Yeah.
So...
Anyway,
yeah, the music's badass. Everybody's got to check it out.
So much.
And, as I say many times, if they don't get the album, they can't listen to my show.
Yeah, that's the ticket. That's the
right?
ticket in.
There it is. So do you have any last words you want to share with the listeners that we haven't covered already? Because we've covered pretty much everything except, the part 2, which will be about your gear.
Oh, man. Well, just that we appreciate you all very much. And we, more than anything else, just want to hear from you. So please leave some comments on anything you see of us. Let us, you put a lot of work into a thing and you put it out there, and the number one thing that you want is a response. Like
No
a
doubt.
really honest response. Like, I want to know if you're picking up what we're putting down. You know, watch the video, read the lyrics, listen to the music, and just populate the comment section.
There you go. And if John does listen or watch this, okay, don't worry, John. We won't tell anybody about the secret we weren't supposed to talk about that we talked about before. Nobody will know. We won't tell a soul. Well, thanks a lot for making us some great music.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure.
Letting me just absolutely yak about it.
I know. Well, see, I like that. See, there's two types of interviews. There's types like this that I would be getting yelled at a tour manager at a festival because it went too long.
Yep. And
then there's the type that, you mean I still have 5 more minutes left of this?
Yep.
So,
we gotta try padding it out to fill the time. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So that's why it went so long, because it was engaging, great, and everybody should listen to the whole interview because it was definitely, we covered a lot of ground, and it's badass music, and that's all that counts.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for being on the Adventures of Pipeman.
Oh yeah, dude.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.